Hi all. So I'm going to talk about product feedback management framework, and Shrija already covered many points that I was going to go through. So I'll try my best not to reiterate what is already mentioned. So the idea is to talk about the product feedback management, which stemmed out of my experience with B2B products. A little bit about myself. I'm Kaushal Shah. I'm from Austin. It's been only 3 months since I moved here from Cleveland, Ohio. And I have my bachelor's degree from Case Western Reserve University in Cleveland. And prior to EY, with EY I've been for about 10 years now. And prior to EY, I started my career as a consultant and then in a marketing and advertising startup company. And then within EY, I've worked with various divisions and departments, and now finally on the global tax and mobility tax related products. So with this overall, I have a healthy mix of experience in both B2B and B2C products. So this is my product, and I'm always curious. So whether you pick a product or whether you are assigned to one, you as a product manager are on the driving seat of that particular product. And it is important to have a curious mindset, right? So the curiousness is more about your product, where it stands in the industry, where it stands in your company, how your users are perceiving it, what is the user feedback, how it is being utilized, the NPS scores that we have talked about over the last couple of days, and the new technology, right, that's out there that can be leveraged for your product. So you have to have the curious mindset. Now, since this is the last session of the day, I would like to do a quick check of the caffeine in this room. So at the count of 3, I want everyone to think about the product you are associated with and say this out loud like you really mean it. This is my product, and I'm always curious. 1, 2, 3. Great. Everybody up now? Good. All right, so with PFM, I'm going to mainly focus on the 2 main aspects here as to who your stakeholders are. How you're going to collect the feedback is part of PFM, but it's a very broad framework. But I'm going to allude from that, and I'm going to focus mainly on your stakeholder group and what do you do once you have collected the feedback. So the core feedback management framework. So the channels of feedback collection, like I said, I won't get too much into it. There are various methods, like where you have active feedback collection, you have passive, you have qualitative and quantitative, right? But as far as the voice of customers is concerned, your customer is not necessarily the only user. They could be the voice of the user, right? So chances are that they might miss out on what the user requirements are, what the user needs are, what the user pain points are. So you as a product manager, it's your role to go out of your way to figure out what their needs are, how they are experiencing your product, right? And basically focus on every single user persona journey and see how that experience is like. And time after time, keep repeating that, reiterate, go back to that and see how is that now. Is there a new technology that can be leveraged to make that a better experience? Work closely with the UX managers and designers, see what can be done to enhance that, right? And if there's no direct representation, you as a product team, you are the representation of that little pool, but still, it's important that you have that 360-degree coverage. But the end users and the end customers, as far as I'm concerned, that's only 180-degree of the pie. So to have 360-degree coverage, right, especially when we are talking about B2B, there are many different stakeholder groups where it is important that you don't overlook them. So for example, the onboarding team. Onboarding is the first experience for the customer using your product. So how do we make the first good impression and hit the ball out of the ground, right? So you basically work with the onboarding team members, the managers, and understand what the pain points are. And product management, true to its nature, see how you can do the problem solving at a micro level, right? That's one small problem, how do we solve that, right? That onboarding and activation should be a very smooth journey. That's the first great impression you are going to make. Then you have the technical architects and the support team. Right? Support team is essentially, they are the first line of defense for your product. So any issues that come across, they are the first ones to address it, and then it goes to the bug resolution process. So it's, from product perspective, it's important to know which areas are usually getting hit by different requests, like, to enhance it, like, the customer feedback. That feedback might not necessarily go to your customers, it might come to your support team first. So it's important that you include them, give them an opportunity to talk more about how to improve your product. The technical architects, right? Like, let them be the voice for the engineers. Engineers, like, in my opinion, they have wealth of knowledge, but many times, and you might have experienced this too, they will not share until you have asked them. They come with wealth of knowledge, but they are going to say that you didn't ask me. They might mumble, they might complain about their own product that they built, but they won't stand up and tell you that let's make this better, right? So with my experience, I've decided that, okay, great. When I speak with them, having coffee with them, they have so many great ideas, but they don't speak up, right? And it could be a cultural thing, it could be a stereotypical thing, but now that you know that, yes, they have understanding of the product, they know what the competitors are doing, get that knowledge from them and see how you can implement in your product. Then you have the technical product managers. Depending on the type of organization you are in, there could be an additional layer of technical product managers. And they have good technical knowledge on the product side of things. And also, they can bring insights from your info security teams. They can bring insights from the legal teams. So they have many recommendations that we can take into consideration to make your product better. Same with the business analyst. Like, in today's world, like, the attrition rate of business analysts is extremely high. It means they move from product to product, they move from organization to organization. Make the most out of it, right? Like, try to understand. If I'm with Ernst & Young, if a business analyst comes in from PwC, they have an opinion, right? Hey, this is how we did in PwC. Well, I want to know that so I can kick their ass, right? I want a better product. They're my competitors. I want to know what you did so I can one up the other guys, right? So now you have received the data, you have the feedback from the sources that really matter. It typically goes through the labyrinth of CR processes, where you have the stage gates, you have the sign-off processes, you have the budget people, like, who have yet to approve your request. The feedback might be really good, it might be critical. The turnaround time is supposed to be very short, but somebody is out on vacation, they don't have a backup, and there are many different stage gates because of which a valuable feedback goes wasted from release to release. So let me here take a quick detour and talk about something even more exciting that I'm talking about. So growing up, I'm a 90s kid. Don't try to guess my age, but I was a 90s kid. I'm a 90s kid, and I was invited to my friend's birthday party, and the parents turned on the TV. I thought it was going to be just another kid movie or something, but it was the vintage WWF wrestling, right? Which is now called WWE. It was amazing. It blew my mind. This is insane. I love this, like, people beating up on each other. This is crazy. Why am I watching Tom and Jerry and He-Man? Like, this is what I should be watching every day. And it kept evolving. Like, they used to have Royal Rumble. They used to have, like, they would, like, just pick up a chair and beat each other up. King of the Ring, if I still remember. So all of that was amazing. Everybody knew it was scripted, but the execution was out of the world. So that really glued me to the wrestling scene, right? That's Macho Man and Hulk Hogan, who don't know, right? One fine day, as I'm hooked onto WWF, there was this thing called cage match. Not this cage. This cage. Cage match is where the wrestlers are inside the cage drops from the top, and they fight with each other. The wrestlers, they fight amongst each other, and you're not supposed to get out of the cage unless one of them is a clear winner, right? So either it's by submission or by pinfall, or like other person, like, just outdoes the other person and gets out of the ring, right? So bringing this back to PFM, well, cage matches, it does work. As Michael Scott says, it works, how could it not work, right? So this is your cage match here, right? Bring everyone in a single meeting. It wasn't easy to bring this up. I had to get my program level CEO's approval on this, wherein the idea was to come to a consensus quicker, right? You have all the stakeholder representations that I mentioned earlier in the black box here, and additionally, the person like who is the product sponsor, who is going to pay for your product, and who is going to sign off on your budget, if they are there, who are the requester of the features, bring everybody into one single meeting. Cage match, right? So the business product managers, the 180-degree pie that I mentioned earlier, right? That comes through business product managers, and it translates into the PFM board, Product Feedback Management Board, right? And then you have the onboarding team, service team, technical architects, technical PDMs, all of that, whether through business product managers or themselves having access to the board, they can all dump it into like one raw list with proper attributes so that it can be properly analyzed. And down below, as you can see, where it says that you have this meeting on the weekly or bi-weekly basis. So you can appoint a new product manager or business analyst. And the reason I say new is so that could be an opportunity for them to know the product well, know so many different stakeholders, and at the same time, people get to know them. And basically it's a good foot in the door for the new employee. In this meeting, you analyze like what for that particular session, like from last meeting to this meeting, whichever new entries have been made, you analyze it further. Like in this case, like I have given an example of value-based prioritization, but depending on the framework that you use, you can decide that is it needed now? No, then it gets rejected. If it is needed now, then the question is, do we need it in current release? If no, it goes to your backlog with the prioritization. If it is needed in current release, now remember, this should be the rarest of the rare occasion because you do not want to disturb the current PI, right? And if that's the case, it goes into the sprint planning. But since everyone is in the presence in that particular room, you can negotiate. If we are taking this into consideration, the level of effort is X, then we need to take something out which is of the equal effort. And that's the beauty of cage match, right? Everybody is right there. So decision making happens right there in one single room. So you come out with a sign off. Anything that's decided in that room, consider that as signed off by everyone. So it doesn't need a paper trail, it doesn't need follow-up, it doesn't need any sign off processes, and so on. The bug triage process, if any of the findings or observations that is in the PFM board, which is identified as a bug, we do not discuss that in the PFM. So that's the reason that entire thing is in yellow. So that's not something that's part of the PFM. If it is identified it's a bug, there's a separate bug triage process that you should be following. And each feedback received should have minimum attributes. So for the sake of prioritization, whichever attributes you need, like whether you are using rice-based model, whether you're using Moscow, value-based, or anything, whichever attributes are needed to do that calculations, we need to make sure that the entry has those attributes. Decision making, right? So importance of stakeholder relationships. So we talked about this today, leading with influence, like something that one of the sessions we talked all about that. Sometimes that does it. If you have two conflicting priorities, how you lead with the influence and come to a consensus that yes, let's pick this over the other one. If that doesn't work, and this is really rare, when two teams like who have their own feedback, if they are at loggerheads, what do? Well, you use the different, you make a data-driven decision. And data-driven decision is based on the models that we have, like RICE model, which is reach, impact, confidence level divided by the efforts, Moscow method, value-based, risk-based, time-based, and cost-based prioritization. So goal is coming to a consensus in a single meeting, and this is where in the cage, you can come across different animals. And there are a lot more than the 4 animals that I have shown here. It's just an example. But as long as a product manager, you need to learn to stand your ground. You have a hippo charging at you, you need to learn to stand your ground. Don't do this to a real hippo. But what I mean to say is in this particular scenario, right? Like if that's a highest paid person's opinion, and I have experienced this very often. a senior partner from Ernst & Young tells you that, hey, this needs to be done. Well, so question them back. Okay, that's great. What value is it bringing? We have this prioritized, and this is the value it's bringing to the table. How does that compare to something that you are suggesting? So stand your ground, make your decisions that is data-driven. Addressing your feedback, so total 5 steps. You identified, you categorized, analyzed, prioritized, and then implemented, right? So number 3 and 4, they happen in the PFM meeting that I mentioned earlier. So you analyze and prioritize within that meeting and we consider that as signed off, and then it's ready to be implemented. When rubber meets the road, actually running the PFM meeting. So in my experience, the development generally happens on Agile, so it works really well with Agile. Anything that's immediate need for the next sprint or the sprint after, it can work. We can align it with your Agile cycles. Based on your needs, you can have 2-week sprints or 3-week sprints. You can adjust the frequency of it, and if you think it's too much of an ask to have such senior people or so many people getting together in a single meeting, what you can do is you can just have a PFM workshop before your PI planning sessions. It makes your PI planning extremely simpler and easy. The second part that I have already mentioned, new team members are ideal candidates to run the PFM calls. Value everyone's time. If for a particular window, if you haven't received enough feedback, then just cancel the meeting. We already have enough meetings in the day. We don't need an additional one where it's a drag. Applications that we can use. I have used AHA. It has worked really well. You can also use Microsoft Azure DevOps or Trello, Gong, and there are a few other applications like Jira. You can use all of that, whichever best suits you. Another thing that I'm working on is to consider analytics layer to the feedback. So basically, it will help me to evaluate the value of the feedback sources. The frequency, where I'm getting the feedback most often from, for which particular area. If I'm getting more and more feedback for one particular area, do I need to revamp the complete thing? So it helps me make the decision process easier. So that's the next step in the PFM process. On a closing note, I just want to mention that PFM framework overall is a work in progress, and I'm trying to evolve it as much as possible. See if you can utilize it in your respective teams, and give me a feedback on my feedback process that I have mentioned. Please take a note of the QR code, like it's to my LinkedIn account, and you can message me with any questions you might have. I would really appreciate the feedback that you might have using PFM. Try it out for 1 or 2 sprints, see how it goes with your team and what their feedback is. How it benefited me personally as a product manager, there was always a quick turnaround time, like I mentioned earlier. I didn't have to wait for anyone to provide sign-off, to provide sign-off or approval on the budgets, things like that. No waiting games were encountered. So I came to consensus very quickly. Through this process, it compelled me to find new and more sources, so I can make a wholesome product as a product manager. It gave me better visibility of the needs and want of the users, and finally, it compelled me to take data-driven decisions. So that is it. I think we are all ready for the happy hours, but any last-minute questions, please let me know.
We had a couple come through Slido, but we got one up here, Jacob.
On your last slide, you mentioned, I think it was the last bullet, consider analytic tools to help you kind of sort the data that you collected.
Yes, and I'm
curious what you use or what you recommend and what types of tools.
Yeah, so far, within our company, Power BI is something that we have considered. We are still exploring what tools to use. Because we want to identify, because this is still a very raw framework, right? And we want to have a proper dashboard which states, which lists all the features that we work on. Now, I work on global tax, right? So, which is an extremely huge application. There are numerous features. So, it's difficult to navigate through from feature to feature, and it's a little cumbersome to have a dashboard for each of those features. So we are trying to simplify that, and we are trying to see what works. For now, we are thinking Power BI, but still exploring if there are other options out there.
Cool, thanks.
Yes.
First of all, I want to say I love the cage analogy. Quick question I had is though is, I mean, kind of using that same example though, having all your stakeholders in a room and then you're really going to, define like your sprint process. The past organization I worked with, I think one maybe challenge that I've had was kind of making sure everyone stays on track when you have, all those different stakeholders or all their different opinions and motivations. Mm-hmm. Just want to maybe ask you like what you did to kind of make sure that everyone's on track and make sure everyone's motivated for the end goal.
Yeah, so I basically it was showing them the mirror that you had an observation. It took this long for it to get implemented. With this particular framework, your feedback will be immediately addressed. There's no guarantee that it will be approved because there are many other people, and it will still go through the value-based prioritization or rice-based prioritization. It can be rejected, but at least it will be addressed. So when I brought that to the table, everybody really liked it.
All right, we got two from Slido. First and most important, who was your favorite wrestler?
Favorite what?
Favorite wrestler.
My favorite is Bret Hart. Hitman Bret Hart. Oh, man. Yeah.
And then lastly, if value-based prioritization is not agreed by all parties, who wins the cage match?
Well, that's when the rice model comes in, right? Like it's not necessary. Well, I would love to give them an elbow, but can't do that. But that's when you use the rice-based model, right? You make a data-driven decision. You show them that these are the scores. So you show them that what the reach of each of those observations are, what the impact is going to be, what the confidence level is from the engineering team, and these are the numbers. Sorry, too bad. Any other questions? Yeah, don't hesitate to reach out via LinkedIn. I'm trying to enhance the overall framework, so it would be very helpful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Kishal.